So the delegation is on a tour of the U.S., started in D.C., we dragged them down here to North Carolina,
Happily.
going back to New York, Boston, and then visiting L.A. because of the deep roots of Makassed. They have a lot of graduates around the United States, and so we were interested in them visiting with us. So Mr. Amine Daouk is president of the organization. We have Reem Rabah, who is
here.
Reem is here. Reem is the director of marketing, director of development, right? And Ms. Arabia Osairan is the director of marketing. So welcome to Chapel Hill. The delegation started their visit in North Carolina by a reception down at our very junior sister, NC State. They were visiting with the Mouis A. Khairallah Center for Lebanese Diaspora Studies, and Mouis is here with us today. And Mouis is one of our own graduates, got his PhD from this school, and we kind of twisted his hands. He's co-chairing the School of Education campaign for us. I was told yesterday that they have this color down there they call red at NC State. I know up in the hill, we don't know what that red is. It's rumored to be bright and has a tint of iron in it, but we're not sure what that is. But anyway, everybody's welcome to Chapel Hill. I do want to tell you a little bit about the context of this talk, and then I'm going to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Amine Daouk. The topic of the talk is absolutely and completely selfish. I'm in science education, and I'm a Lebanese American. And in science education, as in math education, there's always been a heated debate about the best language to teach science and math in international settings. And for those of you who know these things, there are studies that show that there are more foreign languages in a science lesson than in an English lesson, which is really interesting. So there's always been a debate about, is it best to teach science and or math in the native language in terms of learning, because then the child would not have to learn two languages, English, for example, or French, and then learn the language of the science or the math. Of course, the debate is deep, because then people say, so what happens when kids are gearing to go out and study in higher ed? What will happen? Because whether we like it or not, the language of science happens to be mostly English with a lot of other languages. This is not to take any side of the debate, but it was an interesting and a debate that still continues to this day. Our own faculty member, Kelly Rayu, works in this area, and she designs simulations, as you probably know, to lessen the burden for English language learners of learning the English as they learn science concepts. So it's a really interesting study. But the cool thing about what happened in Makassed is that Makassed did it. The Makassed schools, and Mr. Daouk will tell you more about this network, at one point in time took the decision to teach science and math in Lebanon in Arabic. And they did this for a whole
10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
And for me, when I was a faculty member at the American University of Beirut, I was really interested in how this move started, what were the impacts, and maybe how it ended. So we're going to hear about this today. So I'm really happy that we're going to get the chance to sort of talk today. First of all, we need to apologize that Minister Mashnouk, who was going to give this talk, could not make it because of health issues, and so we wish him best. But we have a great step-in, Mr. Amine Daouk, who is the president of the association. Mr. Daouk's passion for philanthropy and his commitment to advancing social justice have guided him from a very successful career as an engineer to a life of service for Lebanon and the Lebanese. He got his BS in engineering from London's Loughborough College of Technology in 1960, and then he visited with the US to get his master's in civil engineering from MIT in 1964. After graduation, went back straight to Lebanon and started a series of successful engineering companies that worked both in Lebanon and the Gulf areas, but his love for academics was always there because he was a lecturer in the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture at the American University of Beirut between 1984 and 1996. Then in 1992, the relationship between Mr. Daouk and Makassed started. He joined Makassed Philanthropic Islamic Association of Beirut, where he has been since then, 35 years, 3.5 decades. He started first as a member of the Board of Trustees, and later as Vice President of the association. And then in the year 2000, 18 years ago, he became Makassed's President and Chairperson of the Board of Trustees. Like the association itself, Mr. Daouk was a firm believer in the Makassed founding ethos, which could be summarized as education is essential for economic and social progress. Women are a vital contributors to the progress, and while we take it for granted here, it's not always the same in the rest of the world. Everyone has an equal right to education opportunity in healthcare. You probably know that universal education is not a right in the US, which is a really interesting thing to be talked about. And civic engagement is a basic component of social, economic, and cultural strength. Now, the interesting thing is that following the Civil War, which lasted in Lebanon from 1975 to 1990, most of the institutions in Lebanon left the war devastated. This actually included Makassed, that lost quite a bit of its infrastructure and endowment during the war. Makassed at one point in time had a network of 100 schools, which later on was reduced quite a bit. But Mr. Daouk took it upon himself to not only sort of put Makassed back on its feet, but to sort of expand its operations. And so I'm just going to try to summarize the list of achievements that were undertaken by Makassed under Mr. Daouk's leadership. In 2017, it's estimated that Makassed touched 100,000 people in Lebanon directly. Mr. Daouk bolstered the philanthropic presence and impact of Makassed through partnerships, both with the regional countries, but with a lot of collaboration with international organizations, including the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, UNICEF, the World Bank, and USAID, or the United States Agency for International Development. He did establish new schools for children in underserved rural areas in Lebanon. Areas that I know very well are severely underserved in terms of education. He improved the quality of education in Makassed school network, and that gained these schools a bunch of international awards.
Accreditations.
British International School Award. And the most important thing about Makassed that you have to understand is that both in their schools and in their hospitals, students go to school or patients go to these hospitals for nearly free tuition and free healthcare. And that is a huge part of Makassed network. He initiated a major fundraising campaign to support Makassed, and in 2018 he launched the Learning Difficulty Center, which is one of the very few centers in Lebanon that addresses the needs of special learning or the needs of special learning children. And during his tenure, he also managed to pull together a number of new initiatives. For example, he started the Makassed Volunteer Association to bolster civic engagement. The Makassed Scout Association as well was launched under his leadership. And he took it upon himself to lead the organization to participate in helping the victims of another devastating war in the Middle East, which was happening in Syria. And so they started the Emergency Relief Program for Syrian Refugees and Center for Empowerment in 2010, and the Center for Empowering Women in 2016. Of course, I'm not going to go and talk about the health care side of the equation, but just to give you a sense of Makassed, in 2017, the network provided medical care to more than 15,000 Lebanese, mostly free, Syrian and Palestinian refugees as well, through inpatient and outpatient care. And each year, the small hospital, the 200-bed hospital that Makassed runs, gives what's equivalent to $1 million in free healthcare to Lebanese and other refugees. Mr. Daouk has earned the trust and administration of all those who worked with him, and he received what is in Lebanon the highest honor, which is the Lebanese Cedar Medal from President of the Republic, Michel Sleiman, in 2008. And I'm happy to sort of say the more I learn about Mr. Daouk, the more I say we cannot dissociate the continued success of Makassed from his leadership and his team. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Daouk.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. This huge build-up puts me at a disadvantage, really. I'm first, as Dr. Fuad Abdul Khalik said, I'm Amine Daouk, the president of Makassed Association. My colleagues, Reem Rabah and Arabiya Sayran. Reem is Director of Development in the association, and Arabiya is, she is the Director of Marketing. Lovely ladies, great colleagues. I'm a civil engineer. I worked as a civil engineer, and since 1960, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I'm giving this lecture, but there we are. We'll muddle through. Before we start, I would like to also apologize for the absence of His Excellency Minister of Environment, Mr. Mohammed Mashnouk, who is a board member of the association. Mr. Mashnouk also was the chairman for a long time of the education committee, and that education committee in his time produced the stuff that we're going to talk about, the teaching of mathematics and sciences in the Arabic language. I can also please allow me to thank Dr. Fuad Abdul Khalik for managing this whole thing, this meeting, this wonderful meeting, wonderful people in education, and accepting me to deliver in place of Mr. Mashnouk to deliver this lecture, this talk. I also wish to thank Dr. Moiz Khairallah and his associates, his brother and sister-in-law, for being with us on the whole visit and getting me on his Tesla. First time I ride in a Tesla, which is really great. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're visiting this very beautiful city, really, and the beautiful campuses it has. This campus and the little sister, as Dr. Abdul Khalik would like to talk about the State University. Also, if you don't mind, since we're leaving North Carolina today, allow me to also thank in absentia Dr. Bill Donch and his lovely wife, Dr. Ghada Donch, for hosting us, for being with us. They are Reem's sister and sister-in-law and brother-in-law. They were great people, and our stay here was really wonderful. Now, to go back to the main thing, teaching of maths and sciences in the Arabic language, the Makassed experience. Just as Dr. Fuad said, Makassed is a very old establishment. It was established in 1878. We're celebrating the 140th now. It has three major sections. It has the educational section, the health section, the social affairs sections. It serves everyone in Lebanon. Really, everyone. When I say everyone, we have the education, we have the health, we have also the social aspect for the youth people, the young people, and also we have the main burial grounds in Beirut. So everybody is there. The governance of Makassed, we have a General Assembly and a Board of Trustees. There's a Board of Trustees of 24 people elected once every 4 years. The board operates with an executive committee, with people from finance and public relations. We have in the board specialized trustees committees, committees for health, committees for education, committees for social affairs, committees for finance, committees for IT, everything. All these committees, and most importantly the audit committee that audits the association. Under these people there is of course the administration. It's divided into two parts. There is the administration, the specialized divisions of education, health and social affairs, and also real estate endowment. That's what we have a small department for this one. All these are supported by support units of human resources, accounting, IT, and general services. These people are central into the in the association. They belong to the chief operating officer and the administration. They service all of these. So there's a great network between these people and the specialized units. Specialized units, education, there's now 40 schools. In education, we have the 40 schools, we have the vocational training center, we have a center for research and development. Center for research and development, this is an educational research resource center where we develop our curricula and we train our teachers there. We have a higher education program with College of Nursing and Health Sciences. We have a College of Islamic Studies where we have a master's degree and a PhD degree. We're not really concerned with the bachelor's program, undergraduate. Only graduate courses. Undergraduate, anyone can come in and do the Islamic studies. This is not a religious study. This is not theology. It is something to do with the Islamic world, so to speak. They can discuss anything. And the College of Education, we have a license for College of Education. We opened that, as we will tell you afterwards. We opened it for training some of the teachers, and it is dormant now because we have an education resource center. So there are enough universities, I think, in Lebanon that we don't want to open another college for that. This is the setup of the situation. Now, after 1982, we had a mini war. In 1982, there was an occupation in the south. There was an occupation of half of Lebanon by Israel, and many displaced people. That's in 1982. These people moved out of their homes, and there was a huge influx of displaced people into Lebanon, into Beirut. Beirut being the capital, being the safer place. The schools, public schools, were closed. They housed in them these displaced people, and of course the displaced people had their own children. Also, Beirut, there was a green line, what we call the green line, where Lebanon was sort of split in two parts. There was the west part and the east part. All students that were in the west part could not cross to the east part. We had two schools in the east part. Some of the students that could not go to the east part remained where we are mostly in the west part. So there was also this meant there is a tremendous amount of new school children in the area. Public schools were closed. There was a problem with the government at the time, and Makassed, being what it was, a sort of a mother, we like to call her a mother association. We built 5 prefabricated schools to house the 5,000 students. Now, to house them, of course, we had to train about 400 teachers. This is where we had a higher institute of training, of teachers training, which is very much like a college of education. So we had these people trained, all in a couple of years. The prefab buildings were imported from France, and they were installed in something like 9 months. It was really a tremendous feat that we did. Now, all these children were into the schools, and they came in with various backgrounds. All these backgrounds, let me say, I'm not going to be, facetious, they were different from the Makassed standard, a bit lower. The teachers, they were not highly trained. Also, they were not as high standard as the Lebanese, as the Makassed teachers. So what happened? The standards of teaching came down. Teaching of mathematics and sciences, we do that in the intermediate stage. That means grades 7 to 9. After primary school, grades 7 to 9, normally in Makassed schools, we go to the foreign language. We teach these in a foreign language, not the native speaking language. But our director of education, on several visits to the new schools, he found out that people were not really grasping the situation. You know, the 7th grade and 8th grade are very important because they form the basis of the different maths and sciences than they are in the lower grades. And they found out that the teachers, who probably did not master also the foreign language, they were talking in Arabic to the students and asking them, why are you doing this? They said, it's easier for us to explain and it's easier for the students to understand. That was for Dr. Eido, the director at the time. That was a hint, and he went back to our president and he said, I think we have to write some books in Arabic with all the other nomenclature that is in the foreign languages, either French or English, so that we can improve our situation. I say English and French because in Lebanon there is there are schools that are francophonic and some schools that are anglophonic. Francophonic have teach these subjects in French. The anglophonic, teach them in English. We had, as we said, the standards went down. Exam results were bad, so he engulfed on starting these books. We have a publishing house. They wrote all the books necessary for the Arabic for teaching in Arabic. It was the Arabic text with all the equations and the nomenclature in the other language. 3 years later, I say 3 years, we have 3 years of intermediate school, 3 years of secondary school. At the end of the secondary school, that's at grade 12, there is an international, there is a universal exam, Lebanese universal exam. Everybody has to go through that. It's called the baccalaureate. People will have to sit for that exam in the foreign language. The first 3 years, before we went into Arabic, the results were really down. They were really bad. After 3 years, we had surprised. That's what happened. The preliminary results of students were very weak, and after the 3 years of teaching in Arabic, there was a real marked improvement in the students' achievement levels at the latter year. What did cause this improvement? Yes, they studied the subject matter in the native language Arabic. They could understand terminology, they could understand what was happening, and we think this is what had happened. And quite obviously, we got some good results. 250 students. May I stop here and talk about the numbers that Dr. Abdul Khalik spoke about? When we speak of numbers in Lebanon, they seem minimal in the huge United States. We must remember that Lebanon is about only 3 million people. That's it. So everything, the scale is down. When we say we have 250 students in the final classes, that's